So I'm going to be asking Candace some uncomfortable questions about her past relationship.
It's grace, it's grace. Oh, leading my family to freedom. Following Christ to the kingdom. It's
My parents split up, and that's why I'm the way I am. You know, like how some people
Ask
say.
me why I feel great. I can feel the power of the grace.
I'm Chase.
And I'm Candace.
So I'm going to be asking Candace some uncomfortable questions about her past relationship. Or we'll get into relationships, but we're mostly focused on the past one that produced a baby. That's the only way we want to put it right now.
Right. I don't know what he's going to ask me, so you guys are going to be hearing the questions for the first time as I'm hearing them.
You're hearing them the same time I'm hearing them too.
You wrote them down.
No, but on all seriousness, these are questions that I've always thought of. I haven't really particularly asked her, and I figured it would be cool to capture this experience. And then also, I think not only I'm going to be learning from it, she's going to be learning from it, and also you guys can learn from it as well. And I think we're all just going to get a lot of good things out of it. Let's get it. Question number one.
Get the good things. Go ahead.
I'm thinking. The question I always think of is, what was the hardest thing about leaving Kellen's dad?
How it was going to affect Kellen. That was the biggest thing. Our hardest part was like how to go about it and not have Kellen be resentful towards me or like, you know, upset, you know, with his, not upset with his dad or just like having the blame on somebody and being resentful towards any of the parents. That was the hard thing. And like, I didn't want him to grow up and be like, my parents split up and that's why I'm the way I am. You know, like how some people say like it, not to talk about other people, but I didn't want that to be his story. You know, how do I go about it so that he's not scarred from it?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's good because, I mean, it was even hard on my end too, thinking like how do I handle this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be that person that's like, you know, that TV show or that movie Stepdad to where I'm just Brad or something like that. You know what I mean? At what point in the relationship did you realize, you know what, this isn't it? This might not be it.
There was multiple points. I mean, you have to take into consideration, this was a high school love, high school relationship. We were together
and that's why I asked that question.
Over
because
the span of 10 years.
I think about a relationship I had in high school, and it's like, I don't know, for me, I was a clingy person.
Well, yeah.
So for me, I didn't. It took me probably 5 years after the relationship to figure out it was over.
Well, see, like ours was like on and off. So it was over the span of 10 years, you know, from meeting each other to separating officially. But we had broken off the relationship so many times. Like in the past 2 years before we actually split up, we had like moved out, or like I moved out, and we were separated for like months. And it was kind of like building up to it, to where it was like a final goodbye. But it wasn't until like I got into church and I was like I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to be committed, because I wasn't happy with my life, that I was like, okay, I'm going to let God steer my life. And at that moment when I was like, all right, I'm doing this, God, it was a moment where it's like, if anything interfered, I had to say goodbye, whether I wanted to or not, or whether I knew where I was going or not. So that point when I started going to church and was like faithful to church.
So how early on was that before I came into the picture?
It was because his dad and I got in a house together. So that was like in August. Yeah, and it was as soon as we moved in, like the whole process was like, frustrating. But I thought it was a step that we were taking in our relationship. Like maybe this is going to help, you know, glue our relationship together.
A lot of people think that.
Yeah. And I was like, you know, he was going to church. I had asked him to come to church. And then, you know, we got a place together. And I was like, wow, this is big. We're going to do it. But as soon as we moved in, like things were just topsy. Like it was just weird. And it was like, okay, I shouldn't have done this. And that was in August. So once we moved in, August was it. August, September, October. So like 2 months before I even met you.
That's interesting. So from the point of you realizing that the relationship wasn't it, going into, steps of recovery or recovering from a breakup or whatever you want to call it, what were those steps like? And like, how long was that process?
The process wasn't really long. Like I said, it was like over the past, like before you and I even, before I met you and before I knew I was going to end the, finally end the relationship, there was things that as I was going to church that God was, that God was, dealing, or that I was dealing with, that God was, telling me about and putting in my heart. So I can't even tell you like when exactly it started or what the first step was, but obviously it was going to church, But when I knew for sure, okay, I have to end this, it was like I obviously set up an appointment with our pastor, talked to pastor. As far like once, I think that was the biggest step that I had to take, because he had, specifically told me certain things that I needed to do regarding the relationship. Because like, there was no obligations. Like I wasn't married. The biggest thing obviously was Kellen, So, so hearing that part, there's no obligation, there's no vows, there's no covenant. So it was kind of just like, it was up to me on what steps that I needed to take, like emotionally, to move forward. It wasn't really, I think the biggest thing was like, everyone in relationships think, they try to do the best to make it work. Like that's my thing. I wanted to make it work, wanted to have the family. And I thought if I didn't try to make it work, that it was going to be detrimental to my walk. So that was the biggest thing. But once pastor or my spiritual father told me, like I don't have any obligations, that, there's no anything tying me to that, obviously, but a kid. So it was more so like a soul tie, that once I break from that it was pretty much all I had to do. So it was just going to church. That was my recovery. That was the only steps that I had to take. Like, not to downplay the relationship. Obviously, there was so much like so many emotional things that I had to go through and deal with. And I feel like the biggest one was obviously like a soul tie, which that's a whole thing in itself. Yeah.
So even coming into our marriage, what would you say was the recovery there, as far as things that you didn't expect and then you kind of just walked into it?
There's like a lot of insecurities that I didn't know that I still dealt with, that I thought I was over, or that I didn't know that carried over until like being in a relationship with you, being married to you, like that marriage brought out. And it was kind of just like, whoa, I didn't know I felt like that, or I didn't know that I was reacting to certain things a certain way based off of my past relationship. So I think that was the biggest thing, is like having to then deal with things that I didn't know I had to deal with before our relationship while in a relationship with you, which was hard because now it was you and I battling my past, together,
Yeah, so it's like, I think that's one of the biggest things that faces relationships, is people bring the past in. Yeah. And they don't even realize it.
Yeah,
Neither
and that
one
was
of
the
them
thing.
realize
It's
it.
like I thought, I came and, with this clean plate, and I, I dealt with all my emotions. I wasn't tied to anything anymore, and I thought, I'm good. I'm coming and I'm bringing myself pure and clean to you. And then I come in, and then, we get married and everything, and then boom, all these things hit. And I'm just like, what is this? I thought I cleared it up. I thought I figured it all out. I thought I was
I'm
good.
over here like, what's wrong with me? That's what people deal with, though.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things where you don't realize it until you have someone, typically I would say someone from the outside looking in, like our pastor, who is able to see those things that for us, we're trying to just work through it. But even someone who's been through certain things, and I'm just so thankful for our pastor that he's been through things to where we can have that guide to be able to I don't know,
Get
overcome
here.
these little things. Because
Yeah.
when you look back at it, it's like, it's all these little things, but it's like, makes a big impact.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing too is like in the natural and the world relationship, you don't even think that those are things to deal with. But like because we're able to like spiritually discern certain things or like things are off and we know it's not supposed to function this way, that we're able to handle the spiritual part about it. Or we want to handle it. You know, we have to because we can't move forward if we don't. Whereas in the world, if they're dealing with issues, they just fight about it and not to have to talk about people because like I was in the world, I was in a worldly relationship, so it's like you fight about it, you argue about it,
And
you
it's
make
not
up,
even
and then
that.
you kind of
A
just
lot of the
put it under the
time-
rug.
A lot of the time, it's not even that you're just fighting about it. It's like you really don't realize how to
Yeah,
handle
no, I'm
situations.
saying like you fight, and you don't really know that there's a root that you have to dig up and deal with.
Because there's so many things to where you'll be arguing or fighting over something.
And you're like, what was that about?
And you're like, I don't know how to answer this, or I don't know what to
Yeah.
solve it.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of times in the beginning of our marriage to where, like, there's times where I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know how to solve this issue. And it's like, I'm doing everything on my end. There's nothing inside of me saying that I'm doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where I would say it ties into you bringing in something from the past relationship to where, like, and I would tell you, I don't know if you remember those conversations where I said, there's nothing on the inside of me saying what I'm telling you is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would tell you, you have to you pretty much check yourself to see what's going on. And that's my baby crying.
Yeah.
Let me go grab my baby.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll be back.
She's mine too.
Your baby too.
Like you always hear, don't be intimate, don't be, involved intimately with another person before you get married. And it's like, it makes so much more sense now, like being in a marriage, the reason why you're not supposed to do those things outside of covenant, because you bring them in, and it's like people don't realize it. Like our pastor has said, people think, oh, God just wants to take all the fun and not, ruin the party, be the party pooper. And it's like, no, there's real reasons why, and it's all spiritual. But if you're not in the word, then it doesn't really matter to you. Like you kind of just live your relationship in the world and not care, I guess you can say.
I don't know what happened.
What's up with your shirt?
Penny, show them what you did. I don't know what she did. She got one arm out.
What's up with your shirt, sister?
How'd you get one arm out, Penny? Here.
Oh, she's trying to get Luca.
Oh.
You see Luca? Luca? Luca, he's a little sharp, so make sure you... Luca.
But we got over everything. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to say everything. There's still certain things to where, I'll put it this way. I think the moment you feel like you got over everything is the moment something typically will come up. And I don't want to say that to you know what I mean? I'm trying to say this correctly so it doesn't sound one way. I would say the moment you let your guard down on certain things and think, oh, it's going to be easy breezy now. It's like, maybe not.
I mean, we always have to be on guard. We always have to be,
And not towards each other, but
Yeah.
just towards certain things that can come. There's definitely a lot that comes with it. It's a full-time job.
Oh, yeah. Marriage is work.
Yeah.
It's every day.
It's fun work, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, why get a day job when you can get married?
What? What? I don't see the logic in that.
There's not.
Okay. That's kind of funny, though.
But I think you answered all my questions. And these are, for everyone out there, these are obviously questions that discussions that we've talked about. But I think the way we worded it, I think helped everyone out. And I just love you.
I love you too.
Look at Penny.
Let me ask you questions
Oh,
about
oh no.
Why is it just about me? Just because
Okay.
I produced a baby with somebody.
Okay, go
And
ahead.
you didn't.
Okay, go ahead. I got
Okay.
answers.
You said it took you 5 years after the relationship.
I feel like that's going to need a whole video, to be honest with you.
Whoa. Why?
I mean, because I'll give a leader into it, but there's certain things that
Okay,
Or not
yeah. Just
necessarily
give
on
it.
video.
Just give me a snippet of it, and then we can
I'll give
possibly
you
do
a
a
snippet.
part
I don't-
2
yeah, I don't know if I will
of
do a
his
video
side.
on it,
So you
but-
guys comment down below if you want a part 2. But go ahead.
So I was in you already know the relationship I'm talking about. I was in
Mm-hmm.
a relationship in high school, and we were intimate, obviously. And I think a lot of people think that intimate just means sex. Like, intimacy can come through promises to
Mm-hmm.
someone or saying, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. So,
And confiding.
yeah, we ended up breaking up, and then I struggled with that for the remainder of my high school year, or high school years. I think it was 2 years afterward. And then I would say all of my college years, which was 3 years, or 2 years as far as film school. And then, so that's already 4 years right there. When I met you, I was still struggling with it. I honestly can say that it broke once. I wouldn't say once we got married, but I would say a little bit after we got married. And that was just the truth of it. And that just goes to show that it's not a natural thing.
Mm-mm.
It was definitely something deeper than that. Yeah, that's just one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize. You know, during those high school years or even middle school years, focus on or really realize what you're doing at the moment. I mean, there was so many things that I held back on because of that relationship. Or there's certain things that I just couldn't move on from. And it was because of an intimate relationship that I should have never, not that I should have never been in, but I shouldn't have made commitments at that, at that age or certain things like that.
Yeah. Is that why you asked, like, how long between my last past relationship and then you did, like, what were the steps? Because, like, for you, it took longer.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Because it's like,
For me, I like to say this. I have commitment issues. Because for me,
What do you mean?
No, commitment issues is good.
You have. Wait, what do you mean?
Because if I'm committed, I'm committed. Not like I have a problem with commitment. It's like if I make a commitment, I'm gonna be committed.
Oh, okay.
That's
I
a
get what you're
commitment
saying.
issue.
Okay.
So if I'm committed to the wrong thing, that's an issue for me. So that's what I would say. Is I was committed
You
to
were
the wrong
all
thing.
in.
I was all in.
And you were trying to figure out how to get out.
But it's like
But you
it was
didn't
just
want to
hard.
get out, yeah, because you're committed.
But I wanted to get out.
Yeah.
But it's like I couldn't. It was hard.
Yeah.
It's because of those commitments I made.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what comes out of it. I think people don't realize what you say like really matters. Like when the Bible tells you that you swear to your own hurt, that means whatever you commit to or whatever you swear you're gonna do, like you're committed to that, and even if it hurts you.
That makes sense.
So that's why I think that's a big thing that people don't realize.
Yeah. I think we should do a part 2 of it because I think we can continue to talk about this.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because I want to know, like, because it's the same thing as, like, pulling down strongholds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like maybe, did you not know how? Or like, because for me, it's like, we obviously had the same word. We sat under the same word. We heard from the same pastor. He taught us the same things. Like, why was it easier for me and it took so long for you? Was it like because I had that word from pastor where it was like, yeah, there's a commitment, but I thought there was a commitment, but it's like he told me straight up there was no covenant, there was no obligation.
Well, because it wasn't so much that like I still wanted to be with her.
Right.
It was more of why in the world can I move on? Mm-hmm. Or like,
well, that's a stronghold.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Were you not? Was it just like you just didn't know how to deal with the stronghold?
I'm not sure. It's pretty much it was
Yeah.
me learning how to deal with it.
In the spirit versus the natural.
Mm-hmm. And I would say marriage played a huge part in that, solving it. I feel like we're just going to have to do a whole nother video on it.
Yeah. I think this is getting really good. I think we could sit here and talk forever about it. But
And I don't even want to talk.
no, it's good if people are going to get help from it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what it is. It's testimony. It's a testimony. It's telling the parts you don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And not just prettying it up and saying, this is what it was, this is how we are. But telling them the real nitty gritty.
Yeah. I think it'll definitely help people out. Well, that was a good talk.
Yeah. You know what I'm realizing?
What?
That I think it's important to continue to have those conversations,
It
even
is.
though like we're still like we're married and we're happy and everything. But like because over the years, clarity comes as we gain more knowledge and have more revelation of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like even though we've talked about this stuff before, it's like stuff has been more clarified to us or more
Yeah.
clear. So it's like we're able to communicate it better and see things not different, but have a deeper understanding of what we went through. To me, that's cool. I think that's cool
It is.
for like marriages to like continue to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, it is. But
yeah.
you guys, if you really want the part 2, we'll definitely make it for you guys,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about kind of my side of things.
Yeah.
How that goes.
Let's jump into his past.
Yeah. I don't really like
Ask-
going into the past, really.
Ask him all the questions.
I'm more about going to the future, if you know what I'm talking about.
Unless it's 2012. Anyways.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much for watching our video. We'll see you next time. Say
See
bye.
ya. Say bye, Penny. Wait.
Bye. Say bye. Bye.